And we will get started. So thank you everyone for joining. We will continue to admit people as they ask to join. Really grateful that you're joining us this evening for our presentation focused on course preparation, course registration, and I'm equally grateful for my colleagues in counseling, Zach Hinkamp, Ulysses Ortiz, Andrea Janik, Heidi Bojores, and Maria Hill, who are going to help lead this presentation this evening. I'll be advancing slides and we'll get started. So tonight we are going to be giving sort of an overview of course planning and course selection, highlighting not only the graduation requirements, but offerings by grade level, including our STEAM classes and summer enrichment information, highlight the AP and the IB, give some information around college planning that will hopefully help to inform decisions, and end with some thoughts around a mindful course selection process and the timeline for registering for classes. There are a lot of options. DePaul has such an incredible array of classes to choose from. It's hard to know where to begin. We like to begin not only with our True North, which is the course selection guide, but also some reflection questions. So Mr. Ortiz is going to walk us through that.
Yes, thank you. So just really wanted to talk about the course selection guide. That's what this whole purpose is, and what is the why. This is the course selection guide. Really is like kind of our Bible to course offerings, understanding what each class entails, what does the rigor look like, what kind of credit they would get as far as grade points towards the GPA. What are the prerequisites? So that's, a lot of what we're talking about today is going to be a lot of a summary of what our course guide is. But the purpose of today is really to understand, with all this different information, what are the best ways and what are the things we really should be thinking about when it comes to course selection. We're going to talk about post-secondary options and courses that are going to make a student's application maybe stand out. But also we want to look at student strengths. What does it look like day to day to their extracurricular activities or any sort of things that they're doing, and how do we make sense of the best course schedule that a student can pick that is not only challenging them but also has we're going to have support within that as well. So here are just some questions that we really want to think about as we're going through that process with our student. One, what are the course graduation requirements of the DePaul College Prep? We are a private Catholic school, so there might be a class or two that might be different from other high schools, but it's understanding what does our specific graduation requirements look like for your student. Also, what are some courses that meet the admissions requirements of specific colleges of interest, specifically those colleges that are a lot more competitive, because you really do want to look at what are those courses, especially when you're looking at the major that a student is selecting. That can also dictate what courses they really should be taking in high school now, and some things to really think about, not just what's happening next year, but also thinking about the bigger picture as to why might this be important for colleges. You want to think about as well what courses best fit the personal abilities and needs and interests. There are times that sometimes I'm meeting with a family and they're like, let's get them in all AP classes or in all honors classes, and that'll probably look great on an application, sure, on a student's transcript. But if they really do struggle with reading and writing, and that's really not one of their strengths, but they're really good with math and they're really good with thinking about like logical black and white thinking in a lot of those spaces where it's a little bit more maybe not as varied as the English classes, and then maybe we want to push them in that particular range, and maybe not across the board. That might not be the best fit for that particular student. What is the rigor of the student's academic schedule and time commitment outside of school? It's another very common thing to think about, especially with my athletes or anybody who has a job or or some sort of outside of school responsibility, it's important that we're thinking about what does that day-to-day look like, because, you know, our honors and IT classes do require a significant amount of academic time that is important that we really, you know, think about all these different things. Lastly, too, you know, how will my past academic performance enhance or hinder my current course selection? So, you know, again, you know, what are the student strengths, and how, you know, if they didn't build the skills in, let's say, Algebra 1, you know, and they don't have that mastered, what does that now look like for geometry or Algebra 2? And again, just kind of putting it all together. So it's important that we understand, too, it's not just a counselor not picking all the classes for the student. It's not the student just picking whatever they want, and we're just saying, all right, you got it, good luck. This is a collaborative process between the parents, the students, the school counselors, to really put our minds together to see what's the best fit for that particular student. And then also, it's important that we know where to find the course selection guide. So it is on our homepage under the academics tab. So once you go on, you know, right under that it'll drop down and you'll see the course selection guide pop up. And that's our most updated for the 2025 and 2026 school year. Okay, so next slide.
And Ulysses, I failed to say at the beginning, I apologize. We do have the Q&A feature turned on. You can find that at the bottom right of your screen. It has a little icon that is a square, a triangle, and a circle. So we'll be monitoring that so that at the end we can go ahead and answer some questions that come through.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, and really good to ask those questions as soon as they come to mind. Just type them in there, because you know you might forget moving on in the future, but it might be a very important question. So, you know, here are our graduation requirements at the Paul Prep. You know, we have 25 credits that are required. This is the breakdown per subject and per department that we have. It's important that, you know, we understand, obviously, 4 years of English, which is pretty standard, 4 years of theology, 3 years of a science, and in that order it would be biology, chemistry, and physics. And we do push for a 4th year of science for those students that are really looking to apply to those you know, pre-med or science programs that are heavy into science, or even if the college themselves are extremely rigorous or competitive, because that might be a requirement for that particular college as well. So again, it's important that you do some background research now for these families that have students that are freshmen. They're, you know, maybe they're not thinking about what, you know, college they want to go to quite yet, but it's important that you start, you know, as you're going through high school and navigating that is at least a topic of conversation to start inquiring about that. Because if you're a senior and then you find out, bam, we need to get into a particular class because my college is looking at it, that might create some, you know, some hiccups down the road. 4 years of math, 3 years of social studies, so world history, U.S. history, and then a semester of American government and a semester of economics. 2 years of a language, of the same language, and again, that's another area where, again, a competitive college might be looking at potentially 3 years or 4 years of the same language for that student. Again, it's important to look at that. And if the college even just says, you know, it's strongly recommended, you really want to go there, I encourage that to be the course selection for that particular student. 2 years of a PE, so physical education and health, 1 year of STEAM, which Mr. Hinkamp will talk a little bit more about what those STEAM options are, and then 2 electives. So one thing to keep in mind, however, though, so we, you know, 25 credits total in order to graduate here, but, you know, we have 8 periods in a day and 4 years that they're in high school. So 8 times 4. So let's say the student doesn't take a single study hall within their schedule. 8 times 4 is 32 credits. So they're going to end up with more regardless. Now, let's say they decide to take a study hall every single semester while they're at high school here with us. 7 times 4 is still 28. So they're going to end up with more regardless. I've sometimes have parents that will ask, like, you know what, I don't know about the study hall. I don't want that to look bad on the student's transcript. That's not going to happen. We don't put any study halls on a student's transcript because they're not getting credit for it and they don't get a grade for it. So it really will show up on a transcript, you know, as if they never took that particular class in general. So, you know, if that is something that a student really wants to do and really feels that they need that to support not only their time, you know, their time management, but, you know, maybe they struggle in some classes, a study hall can be really a good place for them to get that support. So that's, again, if something that they want to advocate for, great. Now, the only downside to that is that it will take up a spot for them to not take an elective that they might want to take. So that's the only kicker I would say about that. And they can choose to have it for one semester and not the other, and vice versa. So that there's some flexibility there. All right, next slide. So I'm going to jump into the different options, what it looks like per grade level. So here are our sophomore year options for our students. So if you're a 9th grade student right now, next year, these are some classes that are going to be available to you. So we've got our English, we have our English category in the top left, physical education right under there, social studies under there, and we got math, science, and then theology. So it's important that you do kind of take a look at this to see what is even available for your particular student. English, there's no AP classes. The AP English doesn't hit until junior and senior year for our students. So they're either going to be in college prep or in honors. And the way our school is designed, we don't have an honors class and an AP class offered for the same level. It's either going to be college prep or honors, or college prep and AP. So it's important to understand that. And then IB would be a whole different category that we get into a little bit later with Ms. Bojorges. But I just wanted to make sure that we knew that difference. They can take some electives in creative writing or in journalism. For physical education for PE, there's really not much of a they don't have to take a PE right away. They're all going to take a freshman year. They're going to knock out one of their credits their freshman year, and then they can jump into some options here, whether it be yoga, weightlifting, dance is a new class that we're offering next year, or intro to sports education. So something to kind of think about there too. One thing that is new, however, for our sophomores is that they're going to jump into U.S. history as sophomores, as opposed to waiting to their junior year. So if your student right now is a junior and they're in U.S. history, that's going to be a little bit different for our sophomores and our freshmen, because we're moving forward. All sophomores will be enrolled into U.S. history. So again, now if you're a current sophomore and you're not in that, which they wouldn't be, next year, their junior year, they will take it their junior year. But again, that'll be phasing out and changing the further we go. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a variety of STEAM electives that are available to freshmen. It's extremely small for my eyes to see, but again, these are all listed in our course guide. So again, feel free to kind of look at there. Not every single elective is available for all freshmen or all sophomore or all junior. It really just depends on the course itself. So again, that's something to really take a look at. When we look at our world language courses for our students, now I did just put for sophomore year Spanish 2. That doesn't mean that the students will be in that particular class unless they did Spanish 1 year prior. All of these selections are the initial placement for these world language classes are going to be on the placement test. So that is something that our world language department works with the student. They give them a test. There's a verbal portion to it, a written portion to it as well. And they really just want to understand, what the level of understanding is for the student, because we don't want to put them in a level too high, and also we don't want to put them in a level too low that it's just not challenging for them. So, and then the 3 options we offer are Spanish, French, and Mandarin. Okay, next slide. These are going to be our junior year options for our students. Now, this is broken down into 2 separate slides because there's just a lot of information to squeeze into one place. But here we just have our English options, PE, math, and our science as well. So as I mentioned before, the junior year is where that AP English really starts, if the student qualifies for it. And it's important, like I said before, to look at the prerequisites in our course guide to see what is the percentages that the students need to get in order to enroll. It's extremely important, and they have to meet that requirement for both semesters. So they might miss it in one semester, that could be something that that can hinder them from getting into that particular course. So again, I want it to be very that's one thing that I communicate pretty regularly with my students, is to really, if you're looking at any particular classes, now's the time to start looking to see what those cutoff grades are, because that can impact your enrollment the following year. So again, we have some options for English. Again, the elective options are creative writing or journalism. Physical education, nothing changed in that box. For math really just depends on when they started taking Algebra 1, which most freshmen will take Algebra 1 as freshmen, but some test out of it in our placement test when they come in, when they're taking that placement test as 8th graders, and might start off in geometry. But the sequence for math goes Algebra 1, geometry, Algebra 2, and then pre-calc. So that's 4 years right there. But if they're able to get ahead and start earlier, or even take a math class over the summer, with us, then they can end up getting to calculus. That's going to be important for students that are looking into business majors or even engineering majors. So again, something to kind of think about related to the student's interests, that it's more than just picking classes for next year. It's, what's the bigger picture and how can we relate that to a good transcript? And then lastly, you have our science options for juniors. Again, physics, college prep or honors, AP Chem, AP Biology, and then the IB options as well. I did want to mention one thing about the PE though. If the student does qualify for a let's say the coach, let's say they play a sport and they are looking to play varsity the next year, or the coach sees them, they have the potential for that. They will need coach's approval to enroll into the varsity strength and conditioning course, which is new here. That wasn't on the sophomore slide, because that's meant for juniors and seniors. Now, again, if there's a sophomore that fits into that role, or a rising sophomore, and the coach reaches out to the counseling department, then we'll know about it and we can enroll them into that. But they do have to be approved for that. That's not just open for all students. And basically what that is it's a double period where they lift while they're at school, and that'll be for both the red days and the blue days for our block schedule. So every single day they'll be in the gym getting their workout. So they'll get a workout for their athletic for their sport, and also they'll get credit for the PE requirement as well. All right, next slide. And this is the breakdown of social studies, theology, and world language, again related to our juniors. Again, if you notice at the top, the U.S. history is going to be only an option for juniors, just for class of 2025 through 2027. And then after that, it phases out and goes into, it'll only be just for the sophomore. And then here are our elective options for this particular field: AP Psychology, AP Human Geography, European History, Sociology, which is a college prep course, IB History of the Americas, Chicago History, and Constitutional Law as well. Ethics, Social Justice for theology, and then again for world language, those are some options. Now again, that can vary depending on the student. I've had students test into Spanish 2 as freshmen, and then their sophomore year they're taking a Spanish 3 or a French 3 or what have you. So again, that's not linear. That's just there to let you know what are some common options. Okay. Next for our seniors. So these are, again, some options, and this is also broken down into 2 different slides as well, just because there's so much content. For English, same thing applies. For English, the college prep option, and then the APs, AP Language or AP Literature. Physical education, again, nothing has changed there. That's pretty standard across the board. Math as well, it depends on the sequence that you had before, but again, it really depends if they take a summer math class or to accelerate. And I strongly encourage that for someone who's interested in, again, in engineering, a business type of pathway, or just truly enjoys math and they want to just get ahead and see what that looks like. That's definitely an option. Now, again, they do have to qualify, but again, that's something to consider. And then so for the senior year option for seniors, again, this is not required, but these are some options for students if they are willing, or they wish to apply. So AP Chemistry, AP Biology, Anatomy and Physiology. It is a college prep course, but don't be fooled. There's a lot of information and content for students to know in that class. Environmental Science, Forensic Science, which is a brand new course that we've had recently that I hear a lot of students who really rave about it, just because of all the cool different things that they're doing. So, there's a lot of different options for students when it comes to science. So it really just matters, if the student is interested in that particular field for the future, or if they just genuinely find an interest in just wanting to know what it is. So whenever I think about like electives for students or courses, because their fourth year of science really truly is an elective, because it's not required after that point. In the question for me, I always ask a student is, when they pick a particular course, is, what is your why behind this? Is this something that you see yourself doing in the future, or is it something you genuinely have an interest? If they answer anything else besides one of those 2 categories, then we might want to rethink it. I know a particular teacher who teaches that. There's no guarantee that they're going to get assigned to a particular teacher, or if a friend or a group of friends join it, there's no guarantee that they're going to be in that same class with those students. So again, it's really important to ask if they, what the why is when it comes to that particular topic. Okay. One thing to notice on here that I don't know if I mentioned, I don't think I did, but if a student takes statistics, whether it be college prep, and the next year they want to take an AP statistics class, that is not going to be an option for them because there is a lot of repeat when it comes to those particular two classes. Now, that's not the same for AP Bio or AP Chemistry. There's a lot more rigor that so those two particular AP courses, so it's something to kind of keep in mind. Okay. And then, yeah,
Did
I
I
think
go? Did I go forward too quickly, Ulysses? Do I need to go back?
yeah, I don't know if I touched too much on this second slide for
Okay.
theology. So the only thing I want to touch upon when it comes to senior options on this slide is that the theology is a lot of flexibility their senior year. Their first 3 years, it's really standard. It's introduction to Catholic Church, sacred scripture, and then ethics and social justice. But their senior year, they definitely have to take 1 semester of world religions. That's for all seniors. And then in the second semester, they get an option between one of these 3 options, between Church in the Wild, Faith and Science, or Marginalized Voices. So again, as they continue on, they do get more flexibility as they kind of navigate through our course guide. But yeah, that's all I've got. I'm going to pass it off on to Mr. Inkamp.
So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our STEAM elective pathways. So we offer 5 different pathways in music, art, film, computer science, and theater arts. And if you go to the next slide, I'll start with the music pathway here. So as you can see, there's 4 different starting points in the music pathway, and then we also offer a choir pathway. We have intro to band, jazz combo, chamber orchestra, and then music production. As you can see with the flow chart there too, you can progress through after introduction to band. You can take intermediate band and then honors band. If you're in choir, you start at beginning choir, and then you have the option to take advanced choir. But as you can see up at the top there, it does say that auditions are required for upper level band and choir courses. One of the things that we see with students who are inclined in this area are that it is an interest for them. We encourage them to take band and choir multiple times throughout their 4 years here, since there aren't as many options. That's something that we just put on their transcript each year and give them their grade for it. So there shouldn't be concern with that. Next slide. Next up, we have the art pathway. As you can see here, it starts with art foundations. Then it branches off. They have 2 options, both a semester long, with painting and sculpture. They have the option to take either one, but if they want to take honors studio art, which is the highest level art class, that's non-IB level, they would have to take both of those. So that's something that to keep in mind. We have run into issues in the past where a student does want to take honors studio art, but they've only taken painting and not sculpture. Typically, when we sign up a student for art foundations, the next year they'll want to take painting and sculpture. If not, they'll space it out and they can make that 4 years and then or 3 years and then finish off with honors studio art. We also offer 2 IB level art courses, IB Visual Arts HL and IB Visual Arts SL. After I'm done going through the STEAM options, Ms. Bajoras will be giving some more more information to you all regarding our IB program. Just as a note though, our IB art program does not, or art classes don't require any prerequisites. Next slide. Next up, we have our computer science pathway. Typically students will start in intro to Python programming. That's a 1 semester long course. Then another semester long course would be Python programming language 2, where they're just learning that computer language, learning how to code, learning how to read code, build code. And then they have the option to take AP Computer Science A. After all that, they can also take AP Computer Science Principles first without any prerequisites. So those are two options there. If a student wants to test out an AP course, but they don't meet the prerequisites for many others, then this might be a good option for those students. Next slide. Next up, we have the theater arts pathway. Theater arts starts with intro to theater, and then after that, they have kind of three different options that give them some experience into different aspects of theater. So building off of intro to theater arts, we have advanced acting and scene study. In that class, they're doing more like formal scenes, putting that to work, physical comedy, doing some sketch work, working with their bodies, and then directing and playwriting. They get that side where they're writing the scripts, putting the production together. Those are all semester-long courses, starting with Intro to Theater Arts. So they have the option to double down their first year or kind of space it out. Next slide. The film pathway. So with film, students start with film production fundamentals. That's a semester-long course. Then they can take documentary production and finishing it off with advanced film production. Because film production fundamentals and documentary production are both a semester long, typically when I'm registering students, they'll take film production first semester and then documentary production second semester. We also offer two IB level courses, HL and SL. But the film classes are also a good idea for students who might be interested in doing sales, something along those lines, because or marketing, because social media has been such a prominent aspect of advertising recently and selling. So getting experience recording videos, editing videos, and putting those out is something that might interest those students and give them some valuable experience. Next slide. Engineering. Our engineering pathway or courses that we offer engineering essentials or project lead the way, PLTW. In that class, it's pretty cool. They're able to create their own objects, whatever the project is in that class. They design it, they go through a computer system. The class also has a 3D printer, so sometimes they can bring those projects to life. Something about engineering is that in that class, I believe the prerequisite is an 84% in Algebra 1, so they will need some algebra skills in order to be successful in that class. The other class we offer in engineering is robotics, where the students will be working and programming their own robot. So again, they get to kind of work on those skills there in terms of engineering and then also a little bit of coding. Two pretty cool options for students who are inclined in that area.
Before you move on, I just wanted to make a point that Ms. Bojorges made in the chat, and that is that moving forward, the IB Visual Arts and the IB Film will be at the HL, the higher level. And so that's just a point of clarification that I wanted to make. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and sorry, I don't want to jump into only about the engineering class, because I when I first started, I was like, this is a cool class and what it all entails. But I had a family ask, what kind of engineering are they really focusing on? Because there's a billion types of engineering. But if the main four are going to be environmental engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and general engineering. So just want to kind of throw that out there for any families that might be wondering.
Thank you for clarifying. Next up, we have our food science pathway. So the class we offer there is Sustainable Urban Food Systems and Culinary Arts. This class is only open to seniors. It's a very popular class for them. In that class, they get to utilize our outside garden. They plant food. They go from seed to table, basically, where they plant the seed, take care of it, harvest it, and they end up cooking it. It teaches them some pretty valuable life skills to cook, healthy eating habits. And again, like I said, it's a really popular class. I see them all the time whenever I walk in and out of the school. The students really enjoy the class. So yeah, I think it's really valuable in terms of learning those life skills. Next slide. So the last slide I have to talk about is AP. So we've been talking a little bit about advanced placement classes. So our AP classes are college level classes kind of that are more fast paced, designed to go more in depth in the knowledge in the different disciplines. They're less guided instruction and more independent inquiry, really trying to emphasize that independent learning. Resourcefulness and creative thinking is encouraged. We also we have an annual comprehensive summative exam where in the spring students will come in, they'll register for the exam. The exam is scored 1 through 5. In Illinois public schools or public universities accept scores of a 3 or higher for college credit. So with a wide range of opportunities, every student may pursue their interests and strengths while being assured they're prepared to meet their interest requirements, the college or university of their choice. We work really closely with each student and their parents, as well as their college counselor on an individual basis to kind of customize their schedules and their course sequence to make sure that their students are getting the courses they need to get into the competitive colleges they want to get into. So some things to keep in mind if your student is interested in taking AP classes are that families are required to sign an AP contract after enrolling in one of these courses. After we've gotten the signature on that contract, you won't be able to drop an AP course. And another stipulation of taking an AP course here and signing the contract is that students must enroll and take the AP exam in the spring.
Great, thank you. Ms. Borges is going to present on the IB. I believe you are
muted. If you click again, I think some words will come up on that slide. There we go. Yeah, good evening, everybody. So I'm going to give you the short version of my explanation of the IB program. If you're interested in hearing the longer version, you can visit the IB website as part of DePaul's IB website. And I did a presentation a couple weeks ago. The recording is posted to the website as well as the slides. And you can always reach out to me to learn more specifics. So IB, similar to AP, is a rigorous college prep curriculum. We have standardized assessments that are created by global experts in education. And if students do well on those assessments, just like AP, they can earn college credit. It is, unlike AP, it operates, in 160 countries. So it has more of an international emphasis and an international presence. And also a little unlike AP, it's also guided by a common philosophy for teaching and learning and curriculum and instruction. And basically that philosophy is grounded in best practices when it comes to teaching and learning. It's just good teaching, I always say. It's rigorous college prep. It really emphasizes teaching students to learn how to learn, not just the what to learn. And number one priority that's guiding IB is we use the knowledge and the skills we learn to make the world a better place, which really aligns with our Vincentian values at DePaul Prep. So some of the underlying principles of the curriculum that you would get, it's inquiry, project-based. We're going to be working on authentic scholarly work. As you see, our students in the visual arts class have to put together their own exhibition. Something authentic like that happens in every IB class. It focuses on conceptual learning. There's tons of student choice in every class. They design a project and they engage a topic of their choice. We emphasize global perspectives, tons of critical thinking. and also the holistic development of the student. We're not just focusing on the academic skills, but we're developing the students as humans. And this is happening in every discipline. To do the IB program, students will apply as sophomores. The application this year is due on January 17th. And all IB courses at DePaul Prep are 2-year courses. So they would apply as a sophomore, get accepted, and they begin junior year, and they would finish that course senior year. Next slide. I'll go over quickly what we offer. So there are 2 pathways that we're offering at DePaul Prep. There's the full diploma pathway. All the courses are 2-year courses, and there's the individual course pathway. Again, all the courses are 2-year courses. If a student is a full diploma student, they have to take 6 IB classes in addition to a 7th class, which I'll talk about in a minute. But they have to take 3 HL courses and 3 SL courses. HL means higher level. That means you're going to have more content in that course and probably either an extra project or an extra exam. So those classes are going to move a little faster. The classes we offer at HL are the English literature class, their elective option, which would be film or visual art, and then history of the Americas. Their SL course options are their language acquisition course, so French, Spanish, or Mandarin. Important to note, students must have completed either level 2 or 3 of that language to be eligible for the IB language course, and they cannot have done 4 or over. So if they have completed something higher than language 3, that course is not an appropriate challenge for them. And then we offer 2 math courses, Math A and A, Math A and I. Again, you can see the longer video or the DePaul's IB website, or reach out to me and I can explain the difference between those classes. Algebra 2 is strongly recommended for those classes, but it's not required. And then our final SL option would be biology or physics. So in addition to those 6 courses, those full diploma students have another course in their schedule that we call IB Core. All full diploma IB candidates across the world have to complete these 3 elements to earn the IB diploma. And that's a class called Theory of Knowledge, where we think about what do we know and how do we know it? Basically, what are the different strengths and limitations of all of these different disciplines and the way they make knowledge? And how can we harness the power of all of those to understand issues? Something called Creativity, Activity, and Service, which is basically a portfolio of all their service and extracurricular activities. Again, IB's way of emphasizing that holistic development of the student. And then Extended Essay, which is their big research project. It's basically a master's thesis, but at the high school level, where the student gets to choose a discipline they really love. They get to choose a topic and design a research question. They learn to research like a scholar in that discipline, and then they end up with a 4,000-page essay before leaving high school, which is one of the #1 things they say prepares them for college. For all of our courses, our ability to offer them depends on student registration numbers, so keep that in mind when applying. Quick plug on full diploma. I mean, full diploma, you can't beat it. It is going to increase students' chances for college acceptance in selective and highly selective schools. If you look at our IB website or visit the slides or the video from my longer presentation, you'll see like there's data. Schools like Northwestern, non-full diploma students get accepted at a 9% rate. Full diploma students, it jumps to 48%. University of Chicago, full diploma students get accepted at 7.9% rate. I mean, non-full diploma is 7.9. Students who do the full diploma, that jumps up to 60%. U of I, if you don't do full diploma, 66%. If you do the full diploma, that jumps to 90%. So colleges love full diploma IB students. They know that they have engaged in some rigorous coursework and they've learned the strategies they need to learn to be able to persist through college. So in addition to being accepted to college at a higher rate, IB students persist through college at a higher rate. They have the opportunity to earn that college credit. We had a full diploma student. She earned so much credit, she was able to start as a sophomore, and she earned a scholarship on top of that. So those are things to consider. They're great values to doing the full diploma program. Additionally, I've been here at DePaul Prep about 10 years, and I think, like, we can fact check me, but I believe all of our valedictorians have been full diploma IB students. And those are all really great things. But I do want to echo what Mr. Ortiz said, that again, we want, even though all those things could come out of the full diploma pathway, we want to be thinking what is the best fit for each individual student. So, you know, all of those things are great, but the really good fit is if a student really loves learning, they're really up for that challenge, and they kind of like that project-based learning, and they're ready for that, and they're ready for that next level of independence. So definitely talk that through. If full diploma isn't necessarily the best fit, you can still engage the IB program and reap a lot of the curricular benefits and the more holistic benefits, and go deep into a class that you're really interested in through our individual course pathway. And so again, the same courses are offered here, the same prereqs are offered. The only thing is that an individual course student would not take the IB core class. So yes, if you have any more questions, I guess the next slide, or you want to know more, follow us on Instagram at DePaul Prep IB. I try to give you a sneak peek into what's going on into some of our IB classes. You could reach out to me, visit our DePaul Prep IB website, and take a look at that longer recording, that longer meeting that I have there.
Thank you so much for that information. And there was a question around whether or not there would be time after hearing the result of the application to make any changes prior to the April 4th deadline. I think the answer is yes, there would be time after that application is submitted.
Yeah, but I really want to emphasize that it's really important for us to know final decisions as soon as possible. So when you're completing that application, please make that as close as possible to your final decision, because there's implications in terms of staffing and schedule making and everything, that we really want that application and your choices on that application to be your final decision. But just like AP, after we review everything, we'll give you contracts to sign and officially sign off.
So really important, if there are any clarifying questions, to contact you or your child's counselor as soon as possible, so that that application, when it's submitted because that's what you want to take.
Exactly, yes.
Great, thank you. We have Ms. Hill, who's going to just say a few words about summer enrichment.
Thank you. I do want to emphasize that, yes, all of our valedictorians and salutatorians have, over the last 10 years, have come from the full diploma program in IB. So again, that really attests to the program and the preparation that the students have for college. So I wanted to just put in that last plug. But summer, lots of summer opportunities for students. There are kind of two major programs that we have. One is on campus at DePaul Prep, and then the other is through our partnership with DePaul University. So summer school is, we offer it in the summer. You see the dates that are there, June 9th through July 18th. Because students are earning either a full credit or a half a credit with some courses, attendance is mandatory. It's really the number one thing I have to stress. I realize the summer is a time for families to go on vacation, wind down. There's camps, athletic all sorts of jobs, part-time jobs. But if a student is going to commit to summer school, those are the dates, those are the times. Attendance is mandatory. There are no exceptions, unless it's an unforeseen emergency, of which case, obviously we will have to deal with. But vacations, camps, athletic, ID camps, like, I know those are all very important, but then you have to think about, maybe I can't do summer school. So because we have to log in the appropriate number of instructional hours in order to administer credit to a student. And with summer school, typically students are covering about a week's worth of content that's taught like during the school year in one day. So missing one day of class is equivalent to missing like an entire week of school during the year. So the Miss Heather Mindel is the director of summer school. She's right now putting all of that information together, and we'll have something out right after the Christmas break. Right now, we are going to be offering, we have commitments from teachers to offer geometry and algebra 2, and those are both offered at the honors level because of, again, the pace and the rigor of the course. We have allowed students who are not in the honors track to take the summer school math. They're getting they're doing the work and the pace of an honors course, so we give them the honors weight that goes with that. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will automatically stay in the honors track. So that's those are kind of individual discussions and decisions that are made with students at that time. But those are two courses for sure. We're also going to be offering for rising seniors, econ and government. So those are each one semester courses. So that will be, those will be the same hours of instruction, the 7:45 to 12:15, but those will be 3-week courses since they are half a credit. So that again would open up a schedule for a student if he or she chose to take econ or government in the summer. Then it opens up an option for them during the school year. Then we are also looking to add chemistry as a summer school course. So again, all of that will be finalized. It'll be published after Christmas. Ms. Mind will be sending it via Schoology through email. So look for that information. Students will need to register and pay for the course. What we don't want to do is for students to tell their counselor, I'm going to take summer school, and then we create a schedule around that idea or assumption, and then the student doesn't register for the course. Typically, the math courses fill up quickly. So again, as soon as that registration opens, I recommend that, that's something to think about over the next several weeks, so that when that information does become available and the registration opens, you're ready to move forward and make that commitment. Another opportunity that exists for students, for rising juniors and seniors, is dual enrollment or dual credit with DePaul University. So this is an opportunity for students to take courses on campus. There's also synchronous and asynchronous courses that are also available through DePaul University. We typically will curate about 30 courses each summer. There are 2 different sessions. And those dates have not been released yet by the university, nor have the courses been released yet by the university. Usually that happens around February. Again, we're at the liberty of professors who decide that they want to open up their courses to high school students. And then that's how then once that is determined, then we put that out to our community. The great thing about it is the cost of those courses is a fraction of what a course is at DePaul University. So typically a 3-credit course is about $600. So again, it's a fraction of what they would be paying, to take a full course. They do walk away with 3 hours of credit from DePaul University. So they have they receive a transcript from DePaul University. They can submit that transcript to colleges when they're applying, with the credit in those courses. Then there are some, typically we will choose a couple courses to decide to offer as dual credit, meaning the credit will appear on DePaul College Preps transcripts. So students will earn credit at their high school, but then they also earn credit at the university. So they're double dipping, which is a great opportunity for them to earn credit in the high school, but then also walk away with college credit. Classes range. There's typically, usually offer a variety. DePaul University will offer a variety of business courses. They'll offer kind of communication courses. So there's typically always a marketing course. Typically discrete math is also offered each year. We've done that one as a dual credit course. There'll be some communication courses. We've offered chemistry, physics in the past. So again, these are like, freshman year college courses. And there's really something for everyone. There's also really like courses that, again, students, if they are interested in a particular area of, for a career, they can kind of dabble in some of these courses as well. So look for that information. That will be available it's available to rising juniors and seniors. And then lastly, for our rising seniors, our counseling department has put on this program each year. It's incredibly successful. We encourage every rising senior to take advantage of this, but is called the College Ramp Up. And it's typically 3 to 4 day kind of workshop where students will work on their Common App. Again, really going through the application, kind of brainstorming essay topics. So they'll work on their Common App essay, as well as, workshopping other essays, supplemental essays that they will need to complete for their particular college or university. So that is something that we really encourage students to take advantage of. And again, that registration typically will occur in January and February, and you see the dates that are listed here as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So just a few words on how DePaul determines course placement. We've said a few times tonight in the chat as well, the importance of referencing the course guide, really getting familiar with it, and understanding the prerequisites. It's really important that those prerequisites are met in order for a student to be placed into a course. And Ms. Hill, if at any point you want to kind of emphasize anything that I say, please feel very free. There are instances where there might be teacher recommendations that come into play with regards to course placement, or looking at standardized exams. And there are instances where some classes might require departmental approval. Really, the true north here is the prerequisite. And so, students should get familiar with those, families get familiar with those now, have those discussions over the break when you're kind of formulating the plan for registration, so that you know what courses are options, and what perhaps needs to be planned for the future. If a course isn't possible for this next year, perhaps it will be for the year following. And just to highlight the grade point average differences, some of you might already be familiar, but there are some differences in grade point average, and it depends on the level, the course level. So if it's college prep or honors or AP, IB, there is weight given to honors courses and AP courses and IB courses. You can see the scale there: college prep with a 4-point scale, honors with a 4.5 scale, and AP and IB with a 5 scale. And you can also see the percentage grading scales below, how pluses are calculated. There is no A+, but there, B+, there's C+, D+. I highlight this simply to draw your attention to it. And sometimes students are wondering about the weight, and weight kind of gives some context to the difficulty rigor of a course, and provides that context. Now, we're going to spend a little time, and Ms. Janik is going to take us through some considerations with regards to choosing courses and thinking about post-secondary planning.
Yeah, thank you. So we wanted to go over considerations if your student has a specific career path in mind or a specific college in mind. This is helpful information for your counselor to know as we help guide your student in courses they should take. These are just considerations. This isn't the only lens that we should be looking at when we're picking out classes. However, it is helpful to keep in mind. So we included some popular career pathways to go over for you all. The first one being health sciences. With any of those, obviously, we're going to want to see a heavy science background on the student's transcript. So even though we only require 3 years for DePaul Prep's graduation, if the student is thinking about going into health sciences, they may want to consider taking that 4th credit of a science class. So freshman, sophomore, junior year, they would just follow the standard trajectory of bio, chem, and physics. Senior year, we offer some science electives that students can take. So for health sciences, some good options would be anatomy, which is offered at the college prep level, or we have AP chemistry and AP biology. If the student is considering an IB science class, we have IB bio and IB physics. For health sciences, I would recommend IB bio if they're considering a IB science class. For math, they're also going to want to see the 4 years, which is the same as DePaul Prep's graduation requirement. So senior year, ideally the student would be in pre-calc, calc, AP calc, or AP stats or IB math. We have heard from colleges that the preferred path is calc, but this isn't essential for the health sciences. For social studies, we do recommend taking AP Psych if your student is eligible, especially for pre-med and nursing. They will typically take some sort of psychology courses in their curriculum in undergrad, so that can be a helpful introduction to that topic. Next slide, please. For engineering and computer science, we also want to see a strong science background. So 4 to 4+ credits of science. For senior year, we included environmental science, AP bio, and AP chemistry. However, if they're doing the IB science pathway, IB physics would be a great option for them to take. For math, this one also very important to get 4 to 4+ years. And colleges do recommend, if it's possible, for the student to get to calculus. If your student is in Algebra 1 their freshman year, they would likely need to take geometry over the summer if they are hoping to make it to calculus for senior year. We do offer AP Stats as a senior year math option. However, for engineering specifically, colleges really want to see that calc class. So AP Stats could be taken as a math elective, or if the student is taking calc junior year, they could take AP Stats senior year, but colleges do want to see that calc over stats. And then for STEAM electives, we have a great computer science program. So that's a great way for students to start exploring this career path and make sure that it's a good fit for them. We have our AP computer science classes, and we also have our engineering essentials class that Mr. Hinkamp went over. And then for our business, finance, econ, accounting, marketing students, we also want to see a strong math background. You'll see that the math requirements, or not requirements, but considerations are similar to that of the engineering pathway. So they really want to see students get to calculus. For our social sciences, we do encourage students to take AP Macro if they are eligible to take this course. And then for STEAM options, computer science is also a great option to take in business. More and more, we're seeing businesses looking for professionals with coding background. So this can be helpful just to have that background information. And then one thing that you might not traditionally think of, but for students interested in marketing or sales, our acting sequence could be a great option. It helps get students comfortable with speaking in front of crowds, which is a great skill amongst a lot of different fields. So this could be an awesome option for them to take as well. And then for our high-level humanities classes, so English, journalism, or pre-law, we do want a strong, or colleges want a strong English background. At DePaul Prep, we require 4 years of English credits, so students should meet that. However, if your student is interested in one of these fields, I would have them consider the IB program, either full diploma or single courses. The IB program is really great at preparing students for that high level writing skills that they'll need when they get to the college level. So that's a great thing to consider. We also have some amazing English electives. If your student has room in their schedule to explore some of those, we have creative writing and journalism. With both of those, there's a pretty heavy emphasis on writing, so it is important that your student enjoys that practice. And then if your student decides not to take the IB English courses, we do have AP Literature and AP Language. For our social studies, we put to consider IB program or looking into AP Psych or AP Gov and Econ. And again, that's just because of the writing skills that those courses will help your student build while they're in high school. For language, 4 years is typically preferred for these programs. And then we included some STEAM courses at the IB level. And then again, our acting sequence, just to get students used to speaking in front of others. And then if your student has a specific college in mind that they want, that they're interested in going to, it's really, really important for them to start looking at admissions requirements if their heart is set on a specific school. For our Big Ten and large public state schools, we do see them preferring 3 years of language. Well, some schools requiring 3 years of language and preferring 4 years. And then science, they also like seeing 4 years. For the more selective schools, they want to see that the student is taking 4 credits in those core academic courses. So your science, math, social studies, and English. For the highly selective colleges, across the board, they're going to want to see honors courses and AP and IB courses throughout the student's high school career. So just to summarize everything, if your student has a specific college in mind, please encourage them to, 1, share that with their counselor, and then 2, start looking into admissions requirements. This is a practice we do with a lot of students. If they mention a college, we'll have them Google high school admission requirements to University of Illinois, and then they pop up pretty quickly. It's pretty easy to find. One thing to consider is that some colleges have requirements that others may not. So for example, the University of California schools require 1 year of visual or fine arts as a part of their high school admissions requirements. So that's something helpful to know, helpful for your counselor to know, so that they make sure you're meeting that requirement to get into the college that you're hoping to get into. Other things to think about are the number of credits or years that you have in your core subjects, and then specific subjects that align with your college major and your strengths that you have as a student. And then also just considering your progression throughout your 4 years. So colleges like to see that you're increasing rigor throughout your time in high school, but doing so in a manageable way. So a student wouldn't want to jump into a ton of higher level classes if that wasn't something that they were ready for. So it is important to, yes, challenge yourself, but we want to make sure we're doing that in a way that is manageable and we're able to balance all of the other different activities that our student is completing outside of school as well. And I think that brings us back to Miss Lewis just to talk about mindful course selection.
Yeah, thank you. As we kind of get towards the end of the evening, we want to just kind of come full circle in terms of those sort of reflective questions, the intentionality that hopefully will come with course planning and course registration. We've said, I think a couple times in the chat this evening, that there is a deadline where once that deadline is passed, changes are not made to a student's schedule. And so really spending the time now to go through the course selection guide, to have those conversations with your children, think about what the post-secondary plan might be, think about the rigor, the balance, whether or not your student, your child wants to have a study hall or not, what graduation requirements they might still need to meet, thinking about strengths, leveraging those strengths. If there are weaknesses, how can we mitigate those, work on those, doing maybe career assessments, looking at Maya Learning. We've done some career assessments with students in advisory to see maybe where the interests might be, so that the courses that your child are choosing sort of align with those interests. And if there are summer courses to take, to really pay attention to those deadlines, and as Ms. Hill said, to make sure to register and pay for those if that's part of the planning process. Naturally, creating balance in your child's life is really important. So, if they have outside responsibilities, taking that into consideration when planning courses, so there's not too much on their plate. Perhaps at that point, there should be a study hall. Once students get a little bit older in high school, they might have to take ACT or SAT prep. Certainly applying to universities is a lot of work. And so just taking into consideration all of the pieces of the puzzle is important. And to emphasize some questions that might come up during the course selection, course registration process, there are prerequisites listed in the course selection guide that identify the grades that students need to have in order to, let's say, move up. If they're in a college prep course and they wish to move into an honors level course, they need to ensure they have those grades both semesters that are listed in the course guide. Students are not allowed to choose which teachers they have. All of our teachers are highly qualified and are not allowed to choose which periods of the day that their classes they're choosing are going to be taught in. That's not something that can be taken into consideration, including when they have a study hall. Is it possible to request a change for the second semester? It is not. So once that deadline has passed, the courses that child is registered for the following year are set. And that includes AP or IB classes, which is why it's so important that if there are questions around AP classes or honors classes or IB, to ask those questions now, so that we can really make sure that your child is ready to register come second semester. And we end with the timeline, the course registration timeline for you, so that you can see what has happened so far, what is to come. We have met with grades 10, 11, 9, 10, and 11 in advisory and presented the course planning process, the course registration timeline. We have had them begin work on their academic planner in Maya Learning, which is essentially a 4-year plan. Really recommend that you ask to see that, to see where they're at in that process. That is their sort of playground for putting together their courses. And when they come and they meet with their counselor, we really want them to have completed that, because that will be kind of our launching pad to finalize those course registrations. When we get back to school in January, the registration period will become live, and we will be meeting individually with our students. We're looking at their historical grades, the prerequisites, the plans for the future, college and career. Again, the deadline to apply for the IB diploma program or IB courses is January 17th. Any questions, please reach out now. We have a few weeks left of school. Teachers will make formal recommendations in PowerSchool in a few weeks' time. And at the end of March, the registrations that we have done with our students will be archived in PowerSchool, and you'll be able to view them and digitally sign. So it's essentially an approval that happens virtually, with a digital signature. And this is something that all families must do. And then come April 4th, those course requests are final. At the very end of the academic year, when the final grades come out, the second semester grades, we make sure that the prerequisites are met. If they weren't met, then we will reach out about any changes that had to be made. Are there any questions that came through in the chat as we wrap up that we missed?
I'd like to say one thing. If you're interested in applying to the IB program, you can find a link to the application on DePaul Prep's IB website.
That's great. All right. I really appreciate everybody's help in managing the chat this evening. There were some really excellent questions. If I have missed any, and my colleagues want to mention any of those, please do now. Otherwise, we will wrap up for the evening.
There seems to be a question about I think some college requirements, and I'm not familiar with the common data sets. I don't know if that's coming from the Common App, or if anybody else is familiar with that. But again, I think we've got an excellent. I mean, our counseling. Our general school counselors are well versed in this, and then we have 4 remarkable college counselors that can. And then we also have actually another counselor who is working with our underclassmen on kind of like career pathways and course and college pathways. So if there's something specific that you cannot find in doing your research at the universities, online, again, you can, contact our college counseling office or your child's general counselor, to ask something specific. But again, I think the universities do a really excellent job. I mean, all of the different colleges within the universities and the majors really do an excellent job of what they're looking for in candidates, and that's usually readily available online. And so I would say, that would be a nice activity to do over Christmas break, is just do some research and see what's out there, and that can drive. That'll be great information that can drive some of your conversations and then some decisions regarding courses.
Now, I think that's a really good point. I always really encourage students and families to look directly at university websites. It's a great exercise in navigating those websites. They're not always very straightforward when you look at them for the first time, and it really puts the sort of control in the hands of students to begin to kind of navigate that process and to really see the information firsthand. Utilize all of the supports here. If you have any questions or you're not able to find information, we're very happy to support. As Mr. Baum mentioned, Nicole Kucera is also our colleague in counseling, working in the college office, focusing on grades 9 and 10 as well. So, you know, between school counselors, college counselors, IB coordinator, teachers, assistant principal, the support is here. So do reach out. We really appreciate the time you've spent this evening. We will post this recording on our counseling website, and we wish you an excellent rest of your evening. Thanks so much.
Great job, team.
Thank you so much for sticking with us and helping out. I really appreciate it.
I'm going to end the recording.
Thanks, Mitch. I